Dave Paulides. This is a copyrighted edition for our video series. I'm on the North Fork of the Flathead River, a beautiful area, about 20 miles south of the Canadian border. And I'm here to talk to you about a couple of cases out of the state of Maine. But before I talk to you about that, I'm going to talk to you about something else that I've never spoken about before, but it concerns me as a citizen. This isn't political. This is about our safety. Back when I was a policeman, I worked vice intelligence. And in intelligence, we had a lot of information that would come through from a variety of sources that would talk about bad guys coming across our border and to look for them and to be concerned about them, etc. And part of that came from the Immigration and Naturalization Services. And Immigration and Naturalization would give us a heads up when bad guys were coming across. Now, what's interesting is that when people are vetted by our Immigration and Naturalization, immigration actually makes contact with people overseas, the country they came from, talks to friends, relatives, etc. It's a very thorough process that takes months. And that's the normal immigration process. Now, right now, we aren't having that normal immigration process. Tens of thousands of people are coming across our border, being held for a maximum of 3 days, and then being let go back into our society. We don't know where they go. There's no way to track them. It's a dangerous endeavor. And if I was a bad guy, a terrorist, I'd be coming across the border right now. And you can laugh about that if you want, but you mark my words, in the next year or two, we're going to have a surge in terrorism activity in the United States like you haven't seen. And it's very scary. A recent poll came out, in fact today, 75% of Americans are concerned about our border policies. Well, I'm all for immigration, because when I was in human resources, some of the best minds we ever hired came from another country. But we have to be concerned about the character of those people that are coming across, and why they are coming across, and why they want to be here. Not political, just factual. So, anyhow, cases from Maine. So the first case I'm going to talk to you about is about a 17-year-old boy that I wrote about in Missing 411 Hunters named Raymond Dolliver. Raymond went to Pametic High School in Manset, Maine. He was a junior at the time. This happened November 18th of 1950. Well, he and 3 high school friends were going to go hunting in an area called the Black Area. And it was called that because of the bogs and the water. Well, during the hunt that day, somehow Raymond got separated, and his buddies called for him, and one time he did yell back, and they thought they knew where he was, but they went there and they couldn't find him. Eventually, they contacted the Maine Warden Service and law enforcement, and they started to search. And as they started to search, freezing rain and snow hit the area. And it gained so much publicity in the state of Maine that John Rockefeller had a big estate there, near there. And he put 250 employees from Seal Harbor on the search. And it lasted for 2 weeks. Land, air, canines. They didn't find anything. And it concerned a lot of people. There were multiple searches throughout that year. They didn't find anything. Then on November 27th, 1951, over a year later, someone was walking through the woods near there and came across a boot that they thought was suspicious. And they took it back and they confirmed it was Raymond's. And then they did 3 more searches of that area, and eventually a half a mile from where they found the first boot, they found some remains. They never did find the other boot. They never did find his rifle, and they didn't find his cap. But his body was found in what was described as super difficult terrain. And it was so difficult that law enforcement told the coroner about it, and the coroner didn't want to go in to get the body because it would have been too hard to work in that area. So the sheriffs brought him out. So for a coroner not to go into an area, especially in Maine, has to be pretty rough. So let's think about what happened here. Body found in an area that was searched 5 times. No shoes, missing clothing, a cap, extremely rugged area, weather encumbered the search, in a water and boggy area. The headlines at the time said, "Boy hunter's body found after year, death causes puzzle." That was the headlines in Maine. And remember, they had been calling for Raymond, and he wasn't answering after that initial response. Well, they could never determine the cause of death because the remains were so far deteriorated. So that was Raymond. He was a really good kid, did well in high school, and something happened out there that was odd. There's no doubt about it. But when you got the warden service, you got law enforcement, you got John Rockefeller sending people in, and they can't find him, what happened to him? Don't know. But he was found in an area called 7 Mile Brook. And I had a difficult time understanding the distances from all these places. So I don't want to guess, but I don't want to say. But knowing that they said that this area was searched 5 times doesn't make any sense. Now, that was Dolliver's case. 2 days after Dolliver disappeared, 2 days, another individual named Evo Reccia, R-E-C-C-H-I-A, he disappeared 11/20/50, 23-year-old hunter hunting near Mount Bigelow. Now here's the map. So, State of Maine, Atlantic Ocean, Reccia. We're going to talk about Rivera and Dolliver. So, this one and this one, it's about 45 miles between these 2 locations. Both disappeared, weren't found initially. Dolliver was found after a year. Reccia was never found. But here's the New Hampshire border, and this is the Canadian border here. Lots of water in the state of Maine, and I've stated many times before that water and disappearances go hand in hand. And I don't mean the people end up in the water, something about it. In this case, Raymond didn't disappear into the water. So I have to ask myself, what happened and how did his boots get off? Never answered. Now, the next case involves water and Fortunato Rivera. Now, I've never written about somebody who disappeared in the United States that was born in the Philippines, but he did. And Fortunato was a long-time hunter. 79 years old. November 13th, 1993. Now, this is the 3rd case in November. Yeah, it's hunting season, but pay attention. He was in an area near Corinth, Corinth, Maine, about 30 miles west of Dolliver's. And that was the best guess on my part. He was hunting with his son and his grandson, and they traveled from New Jersey up to Maine to hunt. Now, on November 13th at about 6 a.m., they all left, the grandson, the son, and they put Grandpa in a hunting stand. And at 6 a.m., they told him, "Hey, we'll be back in 4 hours to get you." Well, he wasn't real mobile. He wasn't in great shape. He goes, "Hey, I'll be right here." And they left. Well, they weren't that far away, and they didn't hear any gunshots. They didn't hear anything. And they come back at 10 a.m. and he's gone. Well, since they all agreed to meet there at 10, they were concerned about Grandpa. Rightly so. And I can only imagine what was going through their mind then. But the son and the grandson looked for him, and at the end of the day, they gave up, called Maine Warden Service and law enforcement. On the first day of the search and rescue, they all looked at each other and said, "How far can a 79-year-old man go?" They weren't finding anything. Now, On November 17th, 4 days after he disappeared, there was a headline in a local paper, and it said, "Body found face up 20 feet from shore in shallow water. Old reservoir off of Route 10." Let's go back for the people that are new. In Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence, I explained water deaths. Males die and they're found face down. Females drown and are found face up. Has a lot to do with body chemistry, but less than 1% of all the bodies of men are ever found face up. Yet, all the bodies I write about are found face up. Something unusual is happening. Now, Fortunato, when they find his body, he's missing boots, his shirt, and a coat. He had to travel up really rough terrain, up a place called West Mountain, to get to this old reservoir. He wasn't familiar with the area. Why would a 79-year-old man walk up a boulder field, across ledges, and travel 2 miles to a water source he didn't know and couldn't see? The coroner stated that, well, it was such a strenuous hike for him that he must have stripped off his clothes to cool off. Folks, it's November in Maine. It's really cold. That was the most idiotic statement I've ever heard from a coroner, I think. But as a New York detective once said, local reports for local consumption. Let's calm the community. Let's give them an answer that the gullible people will understand and explain away this disappearance. That's exactly what they did. Cause of death was listed as hypothermia, not drowning, and heart attack. Hypothermia and heart attack. So, let's think about this. Water related. He's found face up, went through a boulder field, and an important point, he's found 20 feet from shore. It's a long ways. If he had entered the water to cool off, do you think this older man is going to go up to his neck in November? Apply some common sense and some critical thinking. In November, it was very cold. He knew his son was coming for him at 10 a.m. He also knew that walking 2 miles over a mountain would put him out of sight of his son and he wouldn't be found quickly. He never yelled. He never fired 3 rounds acknowledging that a hunter's in distress. He just disappeared. There was never any mention about what happened to his rifle. So don't tell me that someone is going to write something like this coroner did and the mass public is going to believe it. I have a hard time with that. But I've written about several cases like this where people are expected to swallow this story and, oh yeah, okay. Well, obviously the son and the grandson were devastated. They couldn't make sense of this. And they just thought, well, 79-year-old man, maybe he fell into the water somehow. And you try to rationalize it in your mind. And in working with missing people's families, I can see how their mind tries to work. And it usually goes like this for a couple weeks until they talk to a lot of people and they say, hey, it couldn't have happened like this. Something else happened, but we don't know what. So, that's Raymond Oliver, Fortunato Rivera. Both stories are in Missing 411 Hunters. Both stories involve Maine hunters. All 3 stories that I just talked to you about happened in November, which is hunting season in Maine. But just one more brief overlay. This is the area. This is Bangor, Maine. Atlantic Ocean, Canadian border. Now, are these the only disappearances in Maine? Oh no. There's a very, very old story about 2 law enforcement people working together that disappeared in Maine years ago that I wrote about. And it's one of the most convoluted, confusing stories I've ever wrote, but it's a good one. So it's March 2021. As you can see behind me, most of the snow in the sun is off the ground. There's a few patches here and there, but very soon people are going to get out hiking. I'd like you to go out. I'd like you to go online here and look at my past videos. I have over 90 now, and look up trail hiking safety and the things you should carry, and pass that on. I'd also be very grateful if you took this video and you posted it on your social media. Give it a thumbs up. It always helps. And I'm going to try to be getting into the outdoors more and more. As you can see right here, you understand why I love the outdoors. It's a beautiful place. And I'm going to go give you a little spin around on the camera so you can see what I'm seeing behind me. Again, the Flathead River. We're about 20 miles from the Canadian border. You're going to come around on some mountains here with some snow. Check out that view. The sky is royal blue today. It's gorgeous. It's about 45, 50 degrees. But there you go. This is very close to where I live. I can get up here in about 20 minutes. And you can see why I'm here. Nobody's here. That's the whole cool part. I've been here for an hour. I haven't seen anybody. So anyhow, thanks again for watching my channel. Please give this some exposure. And I know some people from the East Coast have said, hey Dave, why haven't you done any East Coast stories? Well, here you go. And I'll try to do more as time permits, and try to balance it out between the East and the West. So I hope you're having a good day, and I appreciate everyone who sent in the kind comments to me. And I'm going to talk about that in another video. You have a great day. Bye.